Webinar on leadership by Mr. Manish Sharma, President and CEO, Panasonic, India and South Asia. Yes, it indeed is a defining moment in the history of BIT, and yes, we all are proud today. Proud because one amongst us has reached that pinnacle of success in professional life that one can dream of. Proud I am because even after scaling such heights, he has retained such humbleness and bestowed his blessings onto his fellow BITians. And yes, I am proud because alumni and students in such large number have expressed their desire to continue learning from real life leaders. In this backdrop, on behalf of entire BIT fraternity, I welcome Shri Manish Sharma, President and CEO, Panasonic, India and South Asia, along with his team of Panasonic, Ma'am Seema, heads of all departments, faculty and staff, media, BIT alumni, and students to this unique webinar of leadership. Welcome you all. I would now request Neonika Banik to proceed with the Saraswati.
या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवल या शुभ्र वस्तावृता या वीणा वरदंड मांडित करा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्मा चित्तशंकरम प्रभृति देवै सदा वंदिता सा मा पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा. A very warm and cheerful good evening to the wonderful audience joining us for the webinar today. I, Noyonika Banik, on behalf of the whole fraternity of Bhilai Institute of Technology, Durg, would once again like to welcome our today's honorable guest and speaker, Mr. Manish Sharma Sir, President and CEO, Panasonic India and South Asia, Mrs. Seema Sharma Ma'am, beloved better half of Mr. Manish Sharma Sir, and our audience to our today's webinar and leadership talk. To begin with today's webinar session, I would request Bhavini Agrawal from 3rd SEM IT to welcome you all with her melodious rendition. Please, Bhavini.
स्वागतं शुभ स्वागतम् अथ स्वागतं शुभ स्वागतम् आनन्दमङ्गलमङ्गलम् आनन्दमङ्गलमङ्गलं नित्यप्रियं भारत भारतम् स्वागतं शुभ स्वागतम् अथ स्वागतं शुभ स्वागतम्.
Thank you so much, Bhavini. That was indeed very melodious. To begin with today's webinar session and to take Sir down the memory lane, we have prepared a small kaleidoscope of old hostel memories for Sir. Please have a look, Sir. The video was shot by Mahim Sankla, edited by Rupak Bedikar. The script was written by Taran Kumar Soni, Harsha Dubey and Ritik Kurve, and the voiceovers were done by Noyonika Banik and Atul Chaudhary.
कहते हैं ना, जिंदगी जिंदा दिली का नाम है। कार्मेल कॉन्वेंट स्कूल से अर्ली एजुकेशन के बाद इसी जिंदगी की रेलगाड़ी ने ला खड़ा किया दुर्ग के भिलाई इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी में। किसे पता था कि क्लासरूम की बेंच से होकर ये जिंदगी पैनासोनिक इंडिया और साउथ एशिया के प्रेसिडेंट और सीईओ तक का सफर तय करेगी। कौन जानता था कॉलेज के दिनों की दोस्ती, हॉस्टल में यारों के संग की गई मस्ती, उन 4 सालों के दौरान अपनों का वो साथ जीवन भर यूं ही संग बना रहेगा। वो हॉस्टल के कॉरिडोर की शरारतें, लॉन में घंटों वक्त बिताना और जब भी मन करे यारों के संग घूमने निकल जाना आज भी याद आते हैं ना। फर्स्ट ईयर रूम नंबर 114 में आपके साथ रहने आए राजीव, गौरव और मनोज। सेकेंड ईयर के रूम नंबर 94 में संग रहे अनुराग, और थर्ड और फोर्थ ईयर रूम नंबर 27 में जो मिला अपनों का साथ। वो हॉस्टल की यारी, शिक्षकों का प्यार, बीआईटी में आकर लगा जैसे यही है हमारा छोटा सा संसार। Here's something that your roommate for all the consecutive 4 years and your friends in school, Mr. Gaurav Arora sir, wants to share with all of us about you.
Hello, Manish. I am happy to be a part of this. Um, we go back together many, many moons before we actually joined BIT. We went to the same school. We grew up in the same neighborhood together. Uh, it's been a wonderful experience, a wonderful journey, and I'm sure you would agree that we did full justice to our hostel life. Did some crazy things together. So here we are, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors, and may you have a wonderful life. God bless.
उन बातों को बीते 25 साल गुजर गए, कभी पता ही नहीं चला। वो हसीन यादें, साथ बिताए वो खुशनुमा पल, यारों संग की गई मस्ती आज भी याद आते हैं ना। वो कॉलेज का कैंपस, क्लास के बेंच, मानो आज भी हमें बुलाते हैं। Now, we would like to take you back to revisit some of the wonderful memories of those fabulous 4 years of your engineering life shared by Monica Prithi Jain madam.
Well, he's married to Seema, my roommate of 4 years at BIT Girls Hostel and my best friend. So I do have a lot to share. And as I was thinking about it, it dawned upon me that we have been friends for more than half our lives. And I don't know what it is about the friendship that is forged during those young adult formative years, but my bond with these two runs deep. So now for the fun part, well, we go back 25 years. And I distinctly remember a girls' hostel conversation around this time in 1991. We talked about a good-looking, handsome boy in our class, roll number 21, and we laughed at how he was super shy. Little did we know back then that super shy boy not only would sweep Seema off her feet, but would reach to such great heights in future. As these two started dating, we formed a close-knit group, and we had 4 fun years. We took numerous trips to Raipur, my hometown, over the weekends. Well, truth be told, the primary attraction of Raipur trips was home-cooked food for the hostel staff students, but we did have fun together. On a serious note, Manish and Seema, as we have grown and changed over the years, I feel that we still understand the core of one another. And Manish, I am really proud of you. We all are very proud of you. I feel that the deep-rooted integrity and the values that I saw in you during our college days has paved the path of success for you. BIT students, I'll say this to you. The friendships that you will form during this phase of life, where future is unknown, anything can happen, they are worth the effort to maintain, no matter how much distance grows and how much time passes. With that, I will say, wish you all the best that future has to offer. Know that we are always rooting for our alma mater, UBIT alums. And Manish and Seema, love and best wishes to you always. Talk to you soon. Ciao.
ये सफर अभी रुका नहीं है, कुछ कदम और हमें संग जाना बाकी है। संग यारों के साथ डाले हाथों में हाथ, कई मुकाम हैं जिन्हें पाना बाकी है।
We hope you loved it, sir, and I'm sure some of your old memories were refreshed. We all love surprises, and this one's coming straight up from Madam Seema Sharma. And let's see what message Seema ma'am wants to convey.
Hello everyone. I hope all of you are well and staying safe. It's an important day today for us when we are connecting with the college after 25 years. Today, Manish is going to share his journey and learnings. I would like to tell all of you that a lot of hard work and resilience is necessary for you to achieve success in life. I would encourage all my juniors to take this learning and do the best in life. And remember, be happy always.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really wonderful of you. Without further ado, let's move on to the most awaited section of today's session. I would not like to take up much time with a cliched introductory message, but would rather like to narrate a short 25-year-old story. The story of a young aspiring boy from Gwalior who did his schooling from a convent school in Gwalior and after his schooling, just like us, joined Bhilai Institute of Technology, Durg in the year 1991 for his BE degree. Years passed on, and this boy, after his graduation, joined his first job in the year 1996. But the moment he joined, he knew that office wasn't the right place for him, and that he was a man of instincts. He left his job even before he could complete his joining formalities. For the coming years, he made his way through giant electronic companies like LG Hotline, Samsung, Haier, and finally found the ladder to his success, Panasonic, which he kept climbing for 12 years. And for the last 4 years, in 4 months, he is at the zenith of success. Yes, he is the CEO and president of Panasonic India and South Asia, and I'm talking about none other than the man of the hour, Mr. Manish Sharma, sir. We, on behalf of the whole family of VIT Durg, feel extremely proud and honored to meet you, see you, and listen to your extremely inspiring and untold story, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's overwhelming, and I'm I'm feeling short of words to be very honest, but extremely thankful to all of you for giving me this opportunity. Let me begin by thanking Dr. Arun Arora, sir, for this opportunity. And needless to say, ma'am, it is all your efforts that we all could come together for this conversation. And I hope the insights which I will reflect in the presentation will be useful for my fellow colleagues and juniors who are joining this conversation. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I feel that I should, before I begin my presentation, I should share that today is a very, very important day in my life for many reasons. I think the first and foremost is that I'm having this conversation with my college colleagues, juniors, after 25 years. So in some sense, I'm getting connected after 25 years. So that itself is a reason for me to really feel very happy about it. Second is it is my daughter's birthday today. So it's again a reason for me to really celebrate this day. And third is that in some sense, while Monica also reflected, I mean, this month is something like I'm doing halfway down my entire life into my professional journey. So while I celebrate 48th year of my birth in this month, I'm also completing 24 years of my career. And half of that is getting completed in Panasonic. This was the day when I joined Panasonic. So it was 11th of August in 2008, I joined Panasonic. So there are a variety of reasons for me to be really excited about. So thank you for this opportunity. And uh, while I was going through memory lanes, and I'm extremely thankful to all of you for preparing this wonderful video. I think it was a recap of our journey during our college life. So really overwhelmed. So while in last few days I was sort of preparing and thinking through that, what are the insights and experiences which I should reflect upon. And as they say, I mean, leadership is potentially a sum total of accumulated wisdom or collective wisdom. And collective wisdom happens when you meet people, when you go through experiences. And if you have an open mind, then you regularly go through the learning process. So while I was going through the memory lane and thinking through that, what kind of insights and experiences I should reflect upon, three very important set of people came to my mind. And needless to say, plenty lot of experiences. So in the first and foremost, it was people whom I met during my life, during the college period. The professors who sort of imparted immense amount of learning to all of us. And second is the friends. And therefore, while I was sort of going through those memory lanes, one thought came to my mind, which I wanted to share with you, possibly not part of today's agenda. But we all became very emotional thinking through that we lost four of our very dear friends, who were part of our college life. So today I thought that I'll sort of dedicate today's conversation for those four very dear friends of ours. And it was only day before yesterday we lost one of them. His name was Chandrasekhar Malviya. He was part of my batch, a very, very dear friend. So I would sincerely sort of reflect upon my regrets for four of my very dear friends: Salil Pradhan, Vikas Singh, Amit Gupta, who was my roommate for about a year. And day before yesterday, as I mentioned, we unfortunately lost, we used to fondly call him Raja. He was from Bhopal. So I would like to dedicate today's conversation to those four dear friends of mine. And sort of as I mentioned, I would reflect upon, so my presentation will include two sets of information. The first would be my journey, my specifically information on my professional journey, and some of my experiences reflecting the learnings which I accumulated over a period of time. I hope that would be helpful to people who are attending today's call. So if you guys, you can sort of project the presentation for me. So this is going to take about 30 minutes. Bear with me. This is full of photographs, some of the memories. So please bear with me for a lot of information, a lot of busy slides. So the introduction and the agenda for today's conversation is, I'm just quickly reflecting on the agenda. So we'll set the context. What I'm going to do is, through my experiences and insights coming out of my experiences, I'm going to draw a framework of leadership matrix. So I was thinking to myself that how should we sort of define what leadership should mean for people? So I've sort of carved out a matrix, which I'm going to reflect on the right side. And obviously, this will be filled based on the experiences which I've accumulated over last 24, 25 years. And this is how it looks like. On the left, we have an access of 3 C's. Quite often, I reflect upon these 3 C's to my colleagues in the organization. And I personally believe that for anybody to sort of evolve in their life, 3 very important C's are very necessary. So one is the character of individuals. So we will define that what indices would be necessary for people to consider, and the capability which they should sort of accumulate. And finally, consistency in their actions. And we'll plot this on a period of time. So this is how this framework will look like towards the end of my presentation. So let me begin sharing some of my experiences. Needless to say, 1991 to 1995 during BIT days were really fantastic, one of the best part of our lives. I'm sure many of you would agree with me. And being engineers, we sort of accumulate capabilities to logically think, to analytical capabilities, sort of are better in engineers, I believe. And most importantly, staying in hostel, we learn the art of networking and building relations. And in this whole sense, we build a sense of navigating through the world. So I think those were, in a nutshell, my learnings during my days in BIT. Moving on, I think I've sort of plotted the last 24 years of my career into a loop, which is about 8 years, split into 3 different sets. I joined LG Hotline in 1995, and as you also mentioned, that I joined the organization for a day. That was an interesting story, and there is a bit of learning coming out of the process, by way of which I could get an opening with LG in 1996. It was in January 1996. So I'll share that very interesting experience of mine. So after I passed out from BIT, I sort of moved back to my hometown and was looking out for a job, came into Delhi, was roaming around the streets of Nehru Place to sort of walk into various consultants. The digital era, the digital convergence was just starting to happen, and internet was sort of opening up, and it was still not as penetrated into small towns. So one was supposed to sort of come to these large cities to sort of look for opportunities. And that was the situation with me also. And after going through some consultants, I got a break into a company which was into manufacturing of fiber optical cables. The telecom industry was booming, and therefore manufacturing of such products was also starting to take place in the country. And this was a manufacturing facility down south of Gurgaon. There's a place called Dharuheda. So I joined this organization and spent about a day into that manufacturing unit, which was a project at that point of time. And somehow the hunch was such that I realized that this possibly is not the place for me to deal with, and decided to sort of look out for an opportunity where I can try to explore my capabilities in a better manner. Moved back to my hometown, and there was a industrial area which was coming up near Gwalior called Malanpur. And I mean, one good thing which a lot of people like us used to learn during our college days was to take a lift. So I used to take a lift every day, and this industrial area was about half an hour's drive from the main city. And I was hopping through various manufacturing facilities which were coming up and mushrooming across. There were new projects coming up. Cadbury's was one of them. JK Tire was coming up. LG was coming up with a joint venture with Hotline Group of Industries. That time the multinational companies were coming through the route of FDI during those days. Still, FDI was not completely allowed, so it was necessary for them to form joint ventures with the local companies, and that's how LG Hotline set up their facility over there. So this was a project which was coming up still in a greenfield state, and this is an interesting sort of story which I wanted to share with you, and some amount of learnings I'm sure will come out of this story. So while I was sort of hopping across various facilities in that industrial area, I had nothing much to do because smartphones still were not existing during those days. So I was reading newspapers all the time to pass my time and wait for somebody to provide an opportunity to go through an interview session. And you would have watched a Ranbir Kapoor movie recently which reflected instance called Purulia's arms drop. So this was a huge sort of case which happened in a place called Purulia, and I had nothing to do, so I was reading newspapers all throughout the day, and I sort of did a expertise into understanding this case. And finally, these guys realized that this boy is sitting out on a chai ki dukaan all throughout the day. We were waiting for someone to provide an opportunity to interview him. So they finally called me in, and the DGM of the facility requested one manager that why don't you interview this chap? And finally, I found an opportunity. And when the interview started, to my surprise, the first question was, what is your assessment about Purulia's arms drop? And I thought that this is my opportunity. And I narrated this story more like an expert, and they were feeling overwhelmed that what an intelligent chap he is. And this is how I got my first opportunity. I mean, the learning which essentially is coming out possibly is that if you start to think about something and be very serious about it, and you decide that you have to really make a serious attempt to achieve something, then you end up sort of having that for you. And so this was a joint venture of LG and Hotline, as I mentioned, into CRT manufacturing. So it is cathode ray tube. So during the previous days, we used to have those bulky televisions. And they used to say that CRT manufacturing is second most critical process after semiconductor manufacturing. Needless to say, we were exposed with a lot of processes, a lot of variables. And in this whole process, again, we started to hone up our analytical skills, a lot of process orientation, and we used to come into shift operations. So in that sense, a lot of discipline was cutting across our operations. And time went past. I got my first opportunity to lead a small team. Coating area was the area where phosphorus coating used to happen, and again, very high on complex processes. So I was given the responsibility to lead a small team starting from shifts. And this was possibly my first opportunity to lead a team of people who were almost my age, or few of the people were elder to me. So in some sense, picked up some of the early learnings. These are some of the pictures. As I mentioned, my initial learnings in this company were process and productivity orientation. As I mentioned, we used to go into shift operations. We used to take rosters into A, B, and C shifts. A lot of objective management. Multinational companies were taking shape in the country. So Koreans were really, training people hands-on. And as I mentioned, that was my first opportunity to lead a team. So I could pick up the art of delegation and empowerment, because the shop floor was such that in every operation, there were plenty number of people working on processes. So till the time you do not really empower people, the result would not be as effective. So I think these were the initial learnings which came my way. Moving on, it was in 2001, after 5 years of my career, I got an opportunity to join Samsung in the R&D. And again, from here, I think a lot of learnings started to happen. And I'm an electrical engineer by qualification. Joined Samsung R&D, which was more about electronics and then subsequently about software. So this was a real challenge for me to sort of maneuver my way through. And as I mentioned, that internet was really evolving, and this was the time when it was booming. And it became an opportunity for me to really upgrade my skill sets to remain relevant into an environment which was very fast paced. And in 2001 November, again, the first large opportunity to lead a small team. So they used to call it parts. So essentially in R&D during those days, there used to be three very important functions. The first one was localization. It is extremely important to localize the components and the development process itself. Second is value engineering. How do you make products more customized for the Indian market? And finally, developing from the scratch, which is application. So I was given the responsibility to lead the localization and the value engineering team. And again, this was a massive opportunity for me to really upgrade my skill sets. So this is the first loop, roughly about 7-8 years of my initial career. I would say that the key learnings into Samsung were speed. I think this is one organization which really works at fast speed, so agility and speed. Global processes. So the picture which you see on the right is about we attending a forum in Malaysia in 2003. So Samsung was evolving a global sort of roadmap of creating international procurement offices and hence unification of both products and processes. So I think that was one large learning which happened during those days. And finally, I think there were many stories of many failures. I mean, during the initial days of R&D where much of know-how was not existing in the country. The knowledge transfer from headquarters was a process which was work in progress. So during those days, we were sort of trying to evolve the processes and trying to develop the products, localize the products, teach the suppliers with the know-how, limited know-how we used to have. So there were plenty amount of failures and plenty amount of successes during this period. So roughly after this first loop, I felt that my major learning was that one has to be really ambitious. And by saying that, I mean that we have to really learn to take our decisions quickly as soon as you get that intelligent gut. So I say that your decision-making process should be a combination of your gut feeling backed by some objective data. So in some sense, it has to be an intelligent gut feeling based on which you have to take your quick decisions. And second is you have to really seize the opportunities. Opportunities normally don't wait for anyone. You have to really, as soon as you see them, you have to seize them. And finally, most importantly, you have to really push your boundaries. And as I mentioned, when I joined Samsung, it was a huge challenge for me with a background of doing chemical engineering in LG Hotline with a qualification into electrical engineering, but getting exposed to work which required skill set into low voltage electronics. So we have to really continuously upgrade our skill sets all the time to remain relevant. So my learnings in a nutshell in these years was that you have to really have a very strong ambition during a period when you have abundance of energy. Moving on, in 2003, I think this was again a large moment for me. I was just about 31 that time and was given the responsibility to head the R&D of Samsung. So it was roughly about 2.5 years down since I joined Samsung. And Samsung decided to make large investment in the country to expand their R&D operations. And in this whole process, delegate authority to the Indian center to take their own decisions in terms of developing products. And today we all know Samsung has in excess of 16,000 people working for their R&D. It all started in 2001 with just 11 of us joining R&D in Samsung. And this was a great opportunity, needless to say. And during this period, something interesting happened because in the capacity of head of R&D, I was supposed to visit market to collect insight from consumers and also to carry out post-mortem activities once we introduced certain products which were developed at the local center. So during my visits to market, I used to sort of meet the sales people, meet the marketing people. I used to meet trade partners, get insights and inputs from them. And I started to realize that this is something really interesting. And in some sense, while working for R&D, we were confined into spaces where we were limited in terms of our understanding of how the external environment is. And therefore, I thought that this possibly is the place where I should really explore my career and also look at enhancing my skill sets to shape the future of my career. Moving on, again, I think luck came my way. One of the vice presidents of Samsung, whom during many meetings for variety of purposes, I used to always tell him that sales and marketing is really interesting. Given an opportunity, I would like to sort of explore learning in that environment. So he sort of left Samsung and joined a company, a Chinese company called Haier, which was coming into the country. And after joining Haier, he gave me a call that, Manish, you always used to mention that this is something interesting. Would you like to explore? And I took a minute to take that decision. And I mean, when you go back in time, sometimes you may challenge your decisions. Samsung is a mammoth, it's a huge company, and Haier was just getting into this country. I was one amongst first 10 people who joined this organization coming in from China. And during 2004, the impression of Chinese companies was not what it is today. Today, a lot of innovation has happened. A lot of smartphone companies are doing very well in the country. But this potentially was first large Chinese company coming into the country. So it was a tough decision to make, but I think, I don't know what hunch happened, but I took this decision in an hour, and almost in an indispensable state in Samsung, decided to join this company. But I think this was the turning point of my career, because it exposed me from merely being a sort of person doing technical things to techno-commercial things. And here I picked up, knowledge to really operate a product category from a concept stage to a post-mortem stage. So Haier, as we all may know today, is mostly a home appliances company. They're world's largest refrigerator and washing machine companies. In fact, they're world's largest home appliances company. And large part of their revenues come out of China and Europe. And in India, they were interested in expanding capabilities of manufacturing, sales, and marketing into home appliances. So they gave me a small working capital of 3 crore rupees in 2004 and asked me that you manage your business yourself. And this was a massive learning for me. So starting from conceptualizing to developing to manufacturing. So we sort of identified a unique model to manufacture the products. We went through the ODM route and then started to market these products and carry out the entire cash flow rather autonomously. And massive amount of learnings, almost operating like an entrepreneur during those 4 years. A lot of learning happened during this period. And then in 2008, this opportunity came my way. So the first question which I asked to the consultant who called me was, is Panasonic still operating in the market? So just a quick backdrop. Many of you would know that Panasonic has been there in the Indian market for a very long time. Technically, Panasonic came in 1972 in India when we formed a joint venture to manufacture dry cell batteries in the country. And many of you would not even know that how many businesses Panasonic operates in the market. I'll give you a quick sense of that also. But in 2001 and 2002, corporation decided to almost shrink the operations from various emerging countries, and India was also one of them. And there are many reasons, but the most simple reason would be that Panasonic decided to exit a lot of categories which were really large during those years in the Indian market. For example, Panasonic used to do window air conditioners, twin-tub washing machines, direct cool refrigerators. India was almost 90 to 95% market of such products. It still has half the market is into these products. But the corporation in 2002, 2003 decided to exit these categories globally and hence shrunk its operations in the country. So in 2008, when this opportunity came my way, I was thinking through myself that how serious Japanese would be for this market. But with the assurance reflected of the seriousness, it was a fantastic opportunity which came my way. I joined in 2008 as head of marketing. And the first challenge I mean, for people who would sort of aspire to become future marketers. So I think The biggest of challenge was that how do you break the re-entry barrier, because it was something like re-entry of Panasonic in the Indian market, and also reposition the brand, because I mean, still we are work in progress. We are trying to sort of provide a youthful connect to the brand. But in 2008, the big challenge was that Panasonic was perceived as a mom and pops brand, dealing with products where the decision making is done by parents. And therefore, it was important for us to really drive a brand image transformation. So we sort of created associations with a lot of sports stars, Bollywoods. We sponsored the Delhi team of IPL for good 5 years. PV Sindhu happens to be our brand ambassador for dry cell batteries. Ranveer was our brand ambassador for good 10 years. And then second challenge was how do you strengthen the distribution, because the penetration of the brand was very small during those years. And finally, most importantly, how do we create customized product for the Indian market? Because for most of the multinational companies, the big challenge is that products are essentially designed for global requirements, and they are straight away brought into the country and proposed for the consumers. So those are the challenges at that point of time. In 2010, I was given the responsibility to also lead the sales. I think this again was sort of a turning point. And in some sense, this is the second loop, again, roughly about 7-8 years of my career. And as you see on the right side, I think the learning which happened during this period. So the first phase was really, about being very ambitious and trying to sort of find out opportunities and reflecting high amount of energy to really do well in professional life. The second set is about resilience. I really faced a lot of challenges during this period, but I think if you continue to walk, then you are definite to reach somewhere. So it is something like that. So you have to be really resilient in whatever you do and whatever challenges come through your life. This is the last possible last 7-8 years of my professional career. In 2013, I was given the responsibility to lead the organization. And essentially this means, and I would reflect upon some of the capabilities of Panasonic here. So many of you would know Panasonic as a consumer durable brand doing televisions, washing machines, air conditioners, refrigerators. A quick reflection, this is only about 45% of our total revenues. So we are about 12,000 crores in the country. This is our revenue of last year. Out of this, these consumer products which you know are only about 45%. I'm sure you would have heard of Anchor Electricals, which is our company. And Anchor Electricals is about switches, wires, wiring devices, and fans and geysers and those kind of products. So that is roughly about 3,200 crores. And apart from that, we are number 2 brand in the country for dry cell batteries. And we also do some specialized batteries, lithium-ion batteries. I'm sure you would have heard of our collaboration with Tesla Motors in the US. So Panasonic is global number 1 for lithium-ion batteries. In India, you might be using Reliance Jio services. So the telecom towers of Reliance Jio, 35% of those towers are powered by Panasonic lithium-ion batteries. So those are B2B businesses which we do. We do a lot of office automation products. Today, the camera through which I'm getting connected is a Panasonic professional camera. When you go and watch a movie in a movie hall, if you walk into a PVR or a INOX, 65% of probability you're watching that movie on a Panasonic projector. And we do a lot of office automation product. We do products for defense, tough books, tough pads. In UP, you have those police vans. So the tough pads mounted on the dashboard are Panasonic tough pads, and so forth. For industry, so smartphone manufacturing sort of accelerated in last 2 to 3 years in the country. So the special purpose machines, so 35% of those machines are Panasonic machines. When you see automotive industry, you might have noticed a lot of robots, doing those welding operations. Again, we are number 1 in the country, 37 to 38% market share in automotive robots doing automotive industry applications. So it's a highly diversified company. And in 2013, when I was given this responsibility, needless to say, it was a very large responsibility bestowed. And since then, I think the journey has been phenomenal. These are some of the reflections. And today we have 15 manufacturing plants across the country. And we also have local R&D center. We have recently, just about 3 years before, set up an innovation center in Bangalore to drive innovation from scratch within the country and possibly for the world. And most importantly, it was about 5 years before when India was established as a headquarter for a region called ISAMIA, which means India, South Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So two of my counterparts manage Middle East and Africa's. And now India is also recognized as a hub to export. And again, in line with government's program of self-reliant India, we are completely aligning ourselves to ensure that we make India as the hub to export. On the bottom, you see three very important logos on the right side. So essentially in India, in last 12 years since I joined this company, three very important pillars. First is localization. Second is empowerment to people to carry out their business activities. And third is rich communication, which is a sense of reflecting a common mind and a common direction amongst all of us. I think these are strengths of our organization today. On the left are some pictures which speak for themselves. And in 2015, again, a very large responsibility. CMI is the Consumer Electronics and Appliances Manufacturers Organization. So all the consumer durable companies are members to this organization. It's an industry chamber. I led this chamber for good 4 years. Extremely thankful to my industry colleagues for giving me this responsibility. And in 2016, again, a very, very large opportunity, which is getting nominated as executive officer of the Panasonic Corporation. In this whole process, getting exposed to more information and in some sense, understanding the global strategies and possibly getting them aligned for our country. So it happened in 2016. And finally, in 2020, I was given the responsibility to chair the FICCI's very important electronics committee. And this committee's responsibilities are again very strategic, as we all know that there is so much of potential into electronics manufacturing in the country with three very important objectives. The first one is how do we unlock the potential of demand of our country? The second is how do we backward integrate? So not only assemble the products in the country, but also in this process backward integrate. And finally, how do we make India as the hub of exports? So we are very closely working with the government to ensure that these objectives are fulfilled in the time to come. My learnings of last 7-8 years since I became the CEO of the company is that for leaders, it is not only important to be very ambitious, it is not only important to be very resilient under all circumstances, but it is extremely important to reflect humility. And therefore, in this whole process, we have to be compassionate and empathetic with people. There is a Japanese philosophy called Sonao Mind, which essentially means that we should have an open mind, which should be untrapped. And finally, we should be always ready to help and support others. So these are the learnings which I accumulated in last 7 to 8 years being the CEO of this company. Finally, these are the three reflections. When it comes to character of leaders, they have to be ambitious, they have to be resilient, and they have to be humble. And moving on, as I mentioned in the initial part of my agenda, we will now plot that how does this matrix look like. And as I mentioned, when it comes to character of leaders, these are my learnings. Not necessarily these are complete in nature, but I feel that these three attributes should reflect into characters of leaders. They should be ambitious, they should be resilient, they should be humble. When it comes to capability, I've always believed that we have to really localize our way of management. And localization may not necessarily mean localization of products or processes, but people also. So therefore, the consideration should be such that how do we ensure that the alignment of our activities should be very specific to the area where the action is. And second is empowerment. Leaders should ensure that they empower their people to take their decisions. Responsibility and authority should go hand in hand. And finally, they should really ensure that their communication with their stakeholders is very efficient. So communication should be really rich. When it comes to consistency, I mean, these are terms which you might not be very familiar because all these three are Japanese terminology. I'm really impressed by a lot of Japanese philosophies with the responsibility which I lead. I visited Japan a number of times. Every time I visit Japan, it's such a learning process. So Kaizen essentially means continuous learning, which means that all throughout your life, people you meet, experiences which you gain, you should ensure that you learn continuously. This process should not stop ever. Second is Gemba process. Anything you do, should have a consideration based on the place where the action is. For marketers, it is extremely important that your approach should not be inside out, which means most of the time you should think that what does customer need, what kind of customer value we should create, rather than thinking that what technology can do for them. And finally, Sunao mindset. I think this is most important. You should have an open mind, which is untrapped, which is unbiased, and you should be open to hear and learn all the time. And this is what I believe a leadership matrix looks like. And this, in a nutshell, is my learnings in last 24 years of my professional career. I would end this presentation with some of the pictures. I'm a passionate photographer. I think this is the only one hobby which I carry for myself. And these are some of the pictures which I've taken in the recent past. I would also urge everybody to ensure that you carry one or the other hobby for yourselves, which really helps you excel in something which you really are passionate about. So that is all about my presentation. I would be extremely happy to take some questions. I may have overshot a bit of time, Manisha ma'am. I'm extremely sorry for that, because these reflections are, really very close to my heart, and it is first time I'm sort of reflecting upon in a very, sort of objective manner. So thank you for your patience, everyone. I'll be open for questions.
Not at all, sir. It was wonderful hearing you.
Sparsh, can you please unmute your mic?
Yeah, Sparsh, I am not able to hear you.
I think, sir, there is a problem. I would like to thank you, sir, for that wonderful session which you had. And our audience is quite keen to ask you some questions. So to go ahead with that, I, Atul Chaudhary, 7th sem student of Electronics and Telecommunication, would like to carry on with this session. And my first question to you will be, sir, sir, CEOs have a different lifestyle. So do you also have something in your routine which is responsible for your efficiency and growth?
Yeah. So I think it evolves all the time, and I myself observed that there has been significant changes. In the first instance, you have to be really disciplined, and because the normal schedules are such that, and especially when you are dealing with a culture which is a multinational company headquartered in Japan, which is about 3.5 hours, earlier than you, the time is very different. So sometimes you end up having calls very early in the morning. Sometimes you end up having calls coming in from a US or elsewhere, and there are a lot of travels which happen in this whole process. So in simple sense, you have to be extremely disciplined, and for that to happen, I think what I've understood in last few years is that I used to, in the initial years of my career, feel that it is about time management, and I'm sure a lot of you would feel that time nahi hai abhi, main time nahi nikal pa raha hu kisi kaam ke liye, etc. So most of the time we people feel that it is about time management. But what I've understood and learned is it is not only about time management, but it is about energy management. And you have to ensure that you sort of allocate and invest your energy, not only time, into things which are more meaningful and more productive. And this definitely does not mean that you have to be serious all the time. I mean, you have to invest your time and energy into things which create happiness for you. And so therefore, I try to lead a reasonably disciplined life, and it is extremely important to practice, things which sort of end up creating some amount of positive energy in you, because sometimes sitting on this chair can be extremely stressing. So therefore, I mean, you guys are really too young for me to, give this advice to you. I have my children who potentially would be slightly elder to you. My son has passed out from BITS Pilani. He is a computer science engineer. He's working with Uber in Bangalore. And my daughter has just passed out from an institute in Singapore. She just came back completing her undergraduation. And whenever I give them this advice, I'm sure that they would be laughing at me. But I mean, these are the times when you should really prepare yourselves for future. And therefore, practicing mindfulness is extremely important. So therefore, my advice would be that we should try to be as disciplined as possible. There is a cycle in nature. If we lead a life which is resonating with that cycle, then I think our efficiency would be one of the best. So that is what I would reflect upon.
Thank you so much, sir. Sparsh, for the next question. I guess there's an audio technical problem. So I'll be having the next question for you, sir. Sir, you have the motto of turning adversities into opportunities. So what is your take on to getting the best out of any adverse situation, especially we are facing this COVID-19 situation? So how do you see the future and so as to convert it into a successful one?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, I mean, I'll reflect upon some of the things which we are doing recently. I'll give you some of the examples which will give you a sense of what we've been doing now. So if you go back in time, I assumed this responsibility in 2013, and sort of the initial strategy was to really scale up and drive a growth which is more exponential and less incremental. And we were sort of jumping on revenues. So when I joined this company in 2008, it was 1,000 crores of revenue, and today we are 12,000 crores. And larger part of this revenue growth happened between 2009 till 2016. And since then, we have sort of taken a very different strategy. So I'll give you a sense of that, which will reflect upon the response. So till 2016, we were sort of growing exponentially, and we made our first profits in 2016, in some sense, completely autonomous with no support coming in from the parent organization. And after that, certain policy decisions on a country level reflected upon a slower demand growth, etc. So demonetization happened, and then GST implementation happened, and industry was in some sense facing a difficulty during those years. And I believe that I mean, this is cutting across and a level playing field for almost everyone. So these are the times when you should really innovate. And during this period, we did a paradigm shift in our strategy and no longer started to focus on exponential growth because we were burning our resources if we wanted to continue that. So we decided that we'll prepare ourselves for future. And during these years, we took decisions to set up innovation center in India. Needless to say that companies like us should be ready for the digital convergence, which is rapidly happening, and therefore we have to build digital capabilities. So we set up two very important centers in Bangalore. One is a appliance R&D center, which is inside Tata Elxsi's campus. So we collaborated with Tata Elxsi to sort of set up this center. And second is India Innovation Center. And so many innovations in a fast track mode has happened in the last 2 to 3 years. So there's a product which we developed called C-Kit, which goes into, so Samsonite introduced its first smart luggage, which is powered by a Panasonic technology in the background, which was developed from scratch in Bangalore's India Innovation Center. We have recently introduced a very wide range of smart and connected ACs. This technology is called Mirai, which essentially means future of smart homes. Mirai is completely developed in Bangalore from scratch. So we invested last 2 to 3 years into preparing for future and in some sense making ourselves relevant for future. You spoke about COVID. I think it's a big challenge and I would urge everybody to stay safe and practice all the necessary protocols. So what we did was when we realized, so initially the challenge of COVID was appearing for organization on the supply side because we felt that the challenge which is happening in China will pose some supply threats. However, when our country started to face this difficulty and when lockdown happened, we quickly understood that it is going to have an impact on the demand side. So we took quick actions, decided three task force teams. The first task force team was given the responsibility to reboot and restart the organization, because safety and sustainability both have to go hand in hand. And being the nature of what we are into manufacturing, into fragmented distribution, so almost 3,500 sales promoters operating out of market into various stores. I mean, it is responsibility of people like me to share the shoulder with them. So I resumed office on 4th of May with a reason to ensure that all the people who are into manufacturing facilities and in the field know that people who are into leadership position are sharing their shoulders with them. So we formed the first task force team with the objective of clearly defining the policies and protocols. And I'm extremely happy to share with you that not one case of contraction has happened across any of the offices of Panasonic, including headquarters or the manufacturing facilities elsewhere. So we are taking complete utmost care in this whole process. The second task force team was quickly given the responsibility. It was, we found that it is going to happen, that demand is going to contract in this year, with April and May going completely washed out. And we knew that it is going to take some time for the country to get back on the demand. So it is important that how do you manage the balance sheet of this year? So the second task force team of cross-functional people was given the responsibility to find out ideas, because we were not wanting to take radical steps of laying people off or taking those kind of drastic measures. So we really found some innovative ideas coming in from that set of people. And finally, we formed the third task force team to decide the midterm strategy of Panasonic in next 3 to 5 years, how we should really re-innovate and restructure ourselves. So that work is in progress currently. So what I believe is that turning adversities into opportunity is definitely the case. But I very strongly believe that these are really opportunities wherein leaders have to really understand that how can they differentiate with an approach which can motivate people to explore their capabilities. And the best of the learning happens during these periods. I missed sharing one of my examples during my Samsung days. One of the largest lessons of leadership which I learned during those phases, we used to create solutions, we used to fall flat. I still remember we developed a solution in Samsung, and I went to Indonesia to sort of launch that product, which was designed for that market in India, with a great effort for convincing headquarters that give us global projects. And in the first instance, we failed. We developed televisions for Russia. We dispatched those televisions to Russia and never imagined that the temperature in the sea would be sub-zero. All the television cabinets cracked, and we never imagined, because in India, it doesn't happen. And we really understood the art of leadership there. And leaders used to reflect such amount of, confidence in their people. They used to really shield all of us. Otherwise, this fear of, fear will create a sense that people will not innovate. People may not take those steps. So I think for leaders, it is extremely important to show their character, especially during such times. And when they say that you have to lead from the front, in normal circumstances, a lot of us can do that. But how do you exhibit those attributes in the times which are more when you are getting tested, which are really trying times? I think that provides opportunity for people to not remain with that sense of fear and explore their capabilities to create a difference during that period. That is what I believe.
Thank you so much, sir. And for the next question, I would like to call Sparsh again. Sparsh.
Sir, being Sparsh Sharma and being a Sharma, I want to know whether you and your son too face the pressure of being a Sharma ji ka ladka.
I never thought like that. And so to be very honest, I've never thought like that. How should I answer this? This is the most difficult question you've asked. So there are a lot of Sharmas doing good. Vijay Shekhar Sharma is a good friend of mine, Paytm. He's doing well. And from now onwards, I should start to think about it. I can say that. So really, sincerely speaking, I never thought on those lines, but it's thought-provoking. In the next opportunity when we interact, I should try to find out an appropriate response. So Sparsh, good to hear you. Yeah, we were waiting to hear your voice.
Yeah, sir, I was having some issues, technical issues. Sorry, sir, for that.
Good to hear that.
Thank you, sir.
So, sir, moving on to the next question. My question is, sir, what kept you motivated throughout the journey of your success? Like everyone has ups and downs in their journeys, and your journey is too inspiring. So, what kept you motivated when through your downs, and what is the mantra behind it? We want to know.
Yeah, so I believe that people should keep their, heads very stable, and irrespective of whatever your position is, good or bad. I mean, you should keep your head very stable. And I mean, thankfully in my life, I have faced some situations in my early part of life which were extremely challenging, and I could learn that you could go through those challenges if you continue to take steps. I mean, if you have to reach somewhere, sometimes it is as simple as you have to just keep walking. So in the early stage of my life, I faced certain challenges and saw that one can go through those challenges if you really continue to take those steps, and if you continue to have a very clear positive thinking in life. And so in some sense, almost everything has a life. Everything might be sort of short-lived, and therefore, irrespective of whatever position of authority or difficulty you are in, you should just keep moving and you should just keep going. And I feel that I mean, success or failure is an outcome of something which happens collectively. No individual might be responsible for their own success or possibly for their own failures also. So I think collective wisdom is extremely important. So if at all success happens, then it happens because of a lot of people supporting individuals or organizations. And if at all failure happens, then a lot of people would let that individual or organization come out of that situation. So collective wisdom is extremely important. I think that is what I believe. And here I should mention about a great leader whom I feel very inspired, looking at his life, is the founder of Panasonic Corporation. His name is Konosuke Matsushita. He started this company at the age of 17. In 1918, 1918 he started this company. In 2018, we celebrated the 100th year of the founding. So he was a businessman and a philosopher. He devoted a very large part of his life into an institute called PHP, which essentially means peace and harmony for prosperity. So simply speaking, I think irrespective whatever state you are in, you should just continue to perform your duties, and you should have a very clear goal in mind. If you are very clear what are you wanting to achieve, and if you continue to take requisite steps, build your capabilities and character in line with that, then I think things always move in the right direction. I've seen that sometimes people get overwhelmed in either of the situations, in the situation of extreme success or in the situation of extreme challenges. One should not get overwhelmed. One should just continue to perform their regular duties. And in that whole process, things move in the right direction.
Indeed, sir, it was motivating too. And for the next question, I would like to ask you, sir, can you share any of the memorable moment or a fun story back from your BIT days that we as junior even can cherish?
There would be many, but I'm not sure they are worthy of me sharing with you, because I would have done my part of fun during the college, and yeah, plenty. So my teachers are possibly also connected on this call, and some of my colleagues of this organization are also connected. So I'm not sure to what extent I can be candid, but I mean, all the things that I'm sure all of you might be doing. We used to sort of wake up till wee hours, and around 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm advising all of you to be very disciplined. I was myself not as disciplined during that period. So around 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, we used to walk till station, and we used to have our chai at the station and then come back. I'm sorry to say the room was allocated for 4 people during those days, 3 people actually during those days. And we used to have 11 people sleeping in our room. So we used to take turns. So 4 were allowed to sleep, and finally the bed conged off. So we were sleeping something like on a slide. So 3 people used to sleep, and then we used to take turns. हाँ तुम्हारा time हो गया, अभी तुम जाओ, हम सोएंगे. So something like that. So the sleeping time was between 10 p.m. in the night till 10 a.m. in the morning. So people used to take 4 hours of sleep, and then you wake up and go out, and then next set of people will sleep, which definitely was violation of the hostel rules. So sorry about that. And A lot of things. I think we used to sort of go to places like Civic Center, etc. There was a mandir, I think, in Sector 9. We used to go there because I'm not sure. There's a place called Battis Bangla. Madam Shashwati Ray was there that time, and I mean, huge respects for her. And we used to sort of be very scared of her for more reasons than one. And the girls' hostel used to be in Battis Bangla during our days. I'm not sure where is it now. So we used to take a walk, and that was the most frequently visited, road during those days. So we've done lot of things. I think in the periphery of the limitation of what I can speak, I can share this with you, but plenty lot. If I happen to campus sometime, if I happen to visit campus sometime, then we'll surely have a candid session. I'll share more than what I've shared today.
Love to see you in campus, sir, soon. We would love to see you in campus.
We are waiting for you. Okay.
We would have really come. I mean, we all were prepared, and as you may know, I mean, we were looking forward to. So we hosted one in Gurgaon in 2016, which was the time we all met after many years. I saw one picture there in the video today, and that was a moment we really felt very good. We had fun time being together, and then we were looking forward to as late as January this year. We were discussing that where should be the location, venue, etc., and what all we should be doing. And all of us were so excited, but unfortunately this happened. But I'm sure next year around December or maybe November, we'll come over there, and I'll try to come before that.
Okay, so nice, sir.
Sir, as you said, you yourself are a BITian. So, sir, what are your thoughts for the college? Like, what were your thoughts back then, and what are your thoughts now about the college?
Yeah, I'm extremely proud for the college actually, and I mean, I'm not sure how many of you would be able to relate, but during our days, pre-engineering test used to happen, and there used to be a separate entrance test for BIT. And I mean, it was a matter of pride for people who used to qualify for BIT. I'm sure it would be the case even today. And I mean, I exactly don't remember, but I was good in academics. I was extremely good in physics and mathematics. Chemistry used to be my weakness. For sure, I remember in the entrance test, I was one amongst top 100 rankers in the MP. And after that, I did not do as well in the college. And so it was a matter of pride getting into BIT. And campus was fantastic. I mean, it has changed a lot, I hear, these days because new buildings have come up. It used to be a establishment created for some of the Russians who came for constructing the Bhilai steel plant. So imagine this campus 25 or 29 years before. It was beautiful. And I could possibly say that the hostel rooms during those years were possibly the best in the country. I mean, you cannot imagine large-sized hostel rooms of, the size what they were for people with attached bathrooms. I mean, during those days, in the best of the colleges, that was not the situation. So in all sense, I mean, when it comes to the positioning, the image of the college, when it comes to the faculty, their commitment for the students, and then on the aspect of culture, we were very lucky, and I should definitely pat back off a lot of my friends in college that we were the architects of the early culture which started to evolve in the college. So our seniors and our immediate juniors. So we were creating the culture, which I'm sure would have gone forward in the institute. And so when it comes to the positioning, when it comes to the faculty, the infrastructure, the culture, I'm extremely proud of BIT. And I have some of my colleagues who are sort of from BIT, and in our factory also we have some of your seniors who are working in our factory, and I wish that we have more people coming in our organization. So I feel really proud of the college. I mean, good to really get connected. It's an emotional moment for me.
Thank you so much, sir.
So my next question will you to be, we all heard Monica ma'am cherishing your quality of never leaving behind the roots and considering your old relations equally important. So how did you actually manage those relations along with being serious about your goals?
Yeah, so to be very honest, I mean, she's kind to say that, but with time, when responsibilities, take a lot of your time, sometimes it becomes difficult to really stay connected. And I have a shortcoming in with me that I'm not on virtual platforms. So, for example, I'm not on Facebook. So that was my personal decision because I believe that relationships have to be very real, irrespective you're not consistently connected. So therefore, I decided to not be across such platforms. But if I go back in time, I would realize that in the initial years we were really connected and we used to sort of talk to each other quite frequently. We went for different functions with the families between all of us. But as time went by, there were situations we were not able to really spare time, and therefore I personally feel that there is more which one can do to really ensure that this connectivity with friends remain, if not to the extent what it used to be, but to the extent which one would aspire for. So she's kind enough to say that, but I personally believe that I should do more. And people like Monica are now in the US. I mean, there's a difference of time also. So sometimes, I mean, she gives us a call, which is when we are just about to go to bed or around midnight or vice versa. So in some sense, with time, I think the situation evolves in a manner that you have to really ensure that you go out of the way to make sure that you still continue to remain connected with your roots. So I think it is more about the intent. If you have a very positive intent and if your relationships are very deep rooted, if they are not superficial, then I think you, irrespective of not getting frequently connected, will still remain very deep rooted with your relationships. So that is how I think we've been able to sort of manage this friendship over last many years. Gaurav, Rajiv is a very good friend. He's in Gwalior today. Anurag is a very good friend. And technology, I think, in some sense helps a lot. So I'm sure all of you would have your own WhatsApp group. So I do have my BIP group, so where all the batchmates of electrical engineering are connected, and we keep sharing our experiences with each other.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed. We will try always to keep connected, and as the social media has grown so much, so it will indeed help us to do that. So, Spursh, next, moving to the next question.
Sir, I would like to move to the final question, and it is quite an ambitious one and my personal favorite. I'm really scared asking you this. What do you think I should start doing today itself to replace you someday?
I would say that few things. It would not be one, single advice which I would give you, but I think, in a nutshell, what I mentioned in the first instance, you have to have a very clear goal. So I'm not sure you have read the book Secret, but if you're not, I would advise you to read it. It's a very boring book, but in a nutshell, the answer which comes out is जो शाहरुख खान की movie में था. So if you seriously start to think about something very seriously and you remind yourselves, then it happens. I mean, that is the secret of life. So my advice to you would be that you have to really clarify, and this should not sound like a management jargon, but you have to really clarify what are you wanting to achieve in life. And you have to remind yourselves of that all the time, irrespective to the existing circumstances. So that is my first advice to you. You have to really clarify, because till the time you don't clarify what is that which you're wanting to do, you'll not be able to align your character and capability accordingly. So my first advice is, if you are really wanting to shoot at my chair, remind yourself that I'm going to shoot at that chair. Then it will happen faster. And if you will simply accumulate your abilities and keep moving, keep learning, it will definitely happen otherwise also. But if you really want to pull up on that timeline, if you are wanting to shoot on a particular chair, remind yourself that this is what I'm wanting to achieve in life. That is first. Logically, second is you have to accumulate capabilities and you have to evolve your character in line with that. Okay. And as I mentioned, life is about managing energy, managing time. You have to make sure that you do the best of the time which is available. Okay. Because as I say, most of the time, world is very dynamic and this planet possibly is rotating faster than ever. So times are changing faster. So therefore, it is important that you make sure that you create some amount of differentiation. So continuous learning to evolve on your character and capability in line with what you are wanting to achieve. That is my advice to you. Easier said than done, but I think it's a process. If you aim at that continuously, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to achieve it.
Sir, as you mentioned Shah Rukh Khan's dialogue, and as he said, किसी चीज को पूरी शिद्दत से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात तुम्हें उससे मिलाने की कोशिश में लग जाती है. Sir, by this, we come to the end of question answer session. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out your precious time to answer the questions. It was pleasure talking to you. और ये हमारी शिद्दत से चाहत थी कि हम आपसे किसी दिन बात करें. So we really feel proud and blessed to have a senior like you. So thank you once again, sir. Now I would like to hand over the controls to Nayonika Banik to continue the rest of the session. Thank you so much, sir. Nayonika, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really very, very much fun to listen to you, and I could personally connect to you as a BITN. Sir, here we have for you a small bunch of your college memories. Please have a look, sir. The video was shot by Mahim Sankla, edited by Rupak Vedikar, and the script and voiceover was done by Nayonika Banik.
College life, nothing less than a Shakespearean novel, a spiel of mixed emotions. These 4 years of engineering makes us witness a wide heterogeneity of experiences. It prepares us for the battle of life. It's been 34 years since the inception of Bhilai Institute of Technology Durg, which has been an eyewitness to many glorious stories. And all these 34 years, it has seen enormous changes around it. But one consistent thing which it witnesses yet today is the aspiration to excel.
बेटे मनीष, पहचाना मुझे? मैं प्रोफेसर लोधी हूँ. मैंने तुम्हारे बैच को 25 साल पहले सन 1995 में स्विच गियर एंड प्रोटेक्शन पढ़ाया. बीआईटी के इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स डिपार्टमेंट में मैडम मनीषा शर्मा, उनसे मुझे तुम्हारा बायोडाटा मिला. मैंने बायोडाटा दिया और पढ़ता गया और खुशी और गर्व से मेरा दिल भर गया. बेटे, तो तुम इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग के विद्यार्थी, पर तुमने दुनिया की उन 30 कंपनियों को चुना जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से रिलेटेड उत्पाद बनाती हैं. और कंपनियों को ज्वाइन करके तुम शीर्ष पदों पे भी पहुंच गए. यही नहीं, तुमने उसमें रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट भी किया. भगवान ने तुम्हें असाधारण प्रतिभा दी. बीआईटी को तुम्हारी इस प्रतिभा पर गर्व है. मैं ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि वो तुम्हें और ऊंचाई पे पहुंचाए, और ऊंचाई पर पहुंचाए, और ऊंचाई पर पहुंचाए, यहाँ तक कि तुम आसमान की बुलंदियों को छुए. ठीक है, मेरी तुम्हारे लिए शुभकामनाएं और मेरा आशीर्वाद.
Today, we are here celebrating one such 25-year-old, but still a fresh story to be told. The story of a BITian who created history.
I would like to thank Mr. Manish Sharma sir for giving us the opportunity to work in a prestigious company like Panasonic. Sir, I regularly watch your weekend musing. They are really very inspiring, and I am honored that I will be working for Panasonic. Thank you for giving us your prestigious time. Every BITian is very much grateful to you.
Greetings from BIT Durg to the entire 1995 batch of BIT. I started my journey along with you all. In this 27 years at BIT, when I joined Training and Placement Office in the year 2018, I tried to connect to as many alumni as I could. When I connected to Manish, I got such a prompt response from him, and within a few days, Panasonic was in BIT. Thank you, Manish, for being with us, for your belongingness to us alma mater. On behalf of entire BIT fraternity, management, faculty, staff and students, I thank you for being with us and wish you success in all your future endeavors.
Year 1991. The instigation of his college life was quite cliche and ordinary. But who knew that his destiny was waiting for him to do nothing ordinary, and that the sky was his limit. Years passed away, success touched his feet, and he was at the zenith, but never left behind his roots. And even today, 25 years later, each student, teacher, and the whole fraternity of BIT Durg feels extremely proud to see him reach the sky of success.
Thank you.
I hope you liked it, sir.
Yes, very
Once
much.
again, once again, thank you so much, sir, for this wonderfully inspiring session and such a thought-provoking address. And I'm sure whenever we think of leadership, we would keep in mind the 3 points which you had emphasized on, that is being ambitious, being resilient, and to keep humility. And it has definitely motivated me and pushed me to do a lot more for my career, my personal and professional relations. And I'm sure, just like me, a lot of people joining the session today are taking a whole lot of motivation with them. Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. And as we are nearing the end of such an amazing session, I would like to express my gratitude and propose hearty vote of thanks to our honorable speaker of the evening, Mr. Manish Sharma sir, for sparing time from his regular hustle and bustle and gracing our today's webinar session. I would also like to thank Mrs. Seema Sharma ma'am for joining us today. We were really delighted to have you with us on this memorable evening, ma'am. I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the HR team and IT team of Panasonic India. Without their support, this event could not have been a successful one. I would also like to thank Dr. Arun Arora sir, Principal BIT Durg, Dr. Manisha Sharma ma'am, Dean Academics and Head Training and Placement Cell BIT Durg, and the whole management team of BIT Durg for constantly guiding and motivating us for the successful conduction of the event. I would heartily thank the organizing committee and all the student coordinators for working so hard with complete zeal and enthusiasm throughout the conduction of the event. And at last, I would like to thank all the listeners for joining us in such great numbers and cooperating so well. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So, Manish sir,